Hi, I'm Peter Brusso for 101 Small Business Mastermind, and with me today, our standard fare here, Frank Syringa. Say good morning, Frank.
Good morning, Frank. Let's get going.
All righty, we're going to get going. I've spent the last 3 days in doing nothing but SEO operations on my websites and trying to clean up stuff, and I learned a lot. And on top of one of these things, I want to talk about. One piece of old news is I ran across it at one of our veterans meetings. I ran across the guy who wanted our address for our 101 Small Business Mastermind podcast, and he gave me his card. This goes back to Card Basics 101. It's a glossy card, gorgeous, but you can't write on them. Don't get glossy cards. I forgot to mention that. I wrote on it and I had to wait for it to dry and dry and dry and wrong answer. So unfortunately I learned this because I was making glossy cards. Love glossy cards. They pop, they look great. You can't write on them. So there's always that trade-off. So in working with this last week or so, we had a black belt test gathering thing, and I got swamped with doing stuff, but I decided, hey, I want to really go take a look at the 3 sites that I'm doing and really push on those and see if I can't get some more traffic, which comes down to if you have any digital footprint at all out there on the web, and most people do, it's probably becoming more and more important to pay more attention to your digital footprint than even your brick and mortar footprint. Because again, you pull from the world as opposed to 5 or 10 mile radius. And matter of fact, over at the Misfits and Entrepreneurs and Misfits meeting, we met, who did we meet? Marcia and Reno. Right. And Marcia spells her name Marcy. And so I did a review of her website, because she and I increased her way of thinking that, she could give her lessons on the web all over the world. Why just worry about a small area? Which then led me into, hey, I ought to look at where I am with my SEO, and I haven't touched it forever. I do everything for everybody else, but not myself. So all that being said, I wanted to show a couple of things that people can do to really help their footprint, because if you don't have any traffic, you can't convert them to customers. That's the bottom line. Your first battle is getting traffic. Your second battle is conversion. And their standard numbers of all your traffic, say you have 100 visitors, you're going to convert 1 to a potential client. It's a 1% rule, pretty low. So you got to do everything you can to make sure that every image is SEO'd, everything you're doing is for Google to get traffic over there. And of course, my main site is not banned from Google, but it's not preferred at all because it's a weapon, self-defense weapon. They don't like weapons, so there you go. So I battle very, very hard to get traffic. Unlike the Coachella Valley Veterans.com site I run, we get traffic automatically just by doing this stuff. So it really shows the difference between being somewhat blacklisted and not favored at all. But so with all that being said and done, I know I'm probably boring you to tears. I
haven't started crying yet.
Let me just show you something. When you asked for the cyanide capsule, there you go. So this is, I'm just going to show one page, and this is, in this particular theme that I've got something called the theme builder, so I can actually build live, which I was having horrendous problems with this morning. But, here's a picture, and behind all these pictures, well, where's the search engine optimization? Well, I've got some of my search terms obviously bolded, italicized, and underlined. And you go on down through here. Now, this is what converts people. Okay, this is the front end, what they call the front end. You have video. People love video. Video is a good thing. I have this little this is one of the things I was having troubles with. It's called an accordion. You click on it, looks pretty nice. It opens up like this, so you can learn more when you want to. And some more video. And then down here I have where the defender is out in the world. Look here, the first one right here. Got to like this one. This is in New York Police Department, Plaza 1. There it is, right there at the police department in New York City. So that's kind of neat. So where is all of the SEO? Well, you don't see it. It has to be done behind the scenes. And here's behind the scene. This is the same page, and it doesn't look anything like what we just looked like. So you have to get used to the fact that you build on one side for customer conversion. You build on the inside, what they call the back end, for search engine optimization. First thing you got to have on every page and every site is some strategy for categories. And this is the plugin that you can add. It puts categories of what your page is all about. So in this case, it's defenders, personal self-defense, self-defense. These are major keywords for me. So it tags it in the code that these are the categories that this page wants to fall into. And here are the search term tags it wants to fall into. These are all separate. You can choose from the tags. It's kind of a cool little thing here. This shows how many times I've used this one, and just because it's larger than all the rest of them. So when you have your keyword cloud cluster here, you can start to pick out ones you hadn't used. It's kind of cool. And again, this comes along with WordPress, but there are plugins you get to enhance that. Now, all of this stuff here is actually what we see over here. All of this stuff is made up by all of this stuff. So not to get all too concerned with that. The first thing you want to learn is, of course, placing the meta tags in the code itself. Now, in some cases, they claim that Google doesn't even look at these. We're not sure whether they do or they don't. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Put it in there. Put your search terms you want in there. The meta description, they're not so sure that they look at that either. Put it in. It's good stuff. And then down here, Yoast SEO is a plugin, and it tells you, it says, hey, put in your keyword you want for this page. You can add more keywords if you pay for their pro version, but I don't. And then this tells you the good, the bad, and the ugly of the analysis of your SEO on this page. And then down here at the bottom is another SEO pack thing I use, which this is how it looks. This is how your page is going to show up. This particular page is going to show up in search engines, so you certainly do use your keywords, which in my case, self-defense weapon. You can see it's right there in the beginning, and also in this particular description. And I can improve that, but personal self-defense is in here, and I can improve that, blah, blah, blah. But this is something, I'm not going to beat a dead dog here, but this is really important stuff if you're going to do SEO and you want to drive traffic to your website, so you can possibly make a conversion. So there's two sides of the coin here, really, really super important for online digital stuff. And that's about all I'm going to bore you with today, Frank.
Well, I appreciate that, number one. Number two, I keep on pushing with my Rebels, Misfits, and Mavericks thing here, is that most struggling, I'll use the term struggling entrepreneurs, struggle because they try to sell the world. And what the Rebels, and you're going to see is with my twin today, and every twin I've done since day one, they become superstars because they target their market. Mm-hmm. The phrase I use is get found by people who are looking for someone like you.
Right.
That's exactly what you just did.
That's true. It's a keyword.
Bingo.
It's
there. And it's behind the scene.
It's behind the scenes. Now, there's a lot that goes into those search keywords, which is Market Samurai. I can give a little talk next week about the Market Samurai stuff, because I was fooled again this week. I did some more keyword research for myself, And I was sure that people would want to find, I did a post on, I used my grandson, as a matter of fact, on a post.
I saw the picture.
Okay, yeah. And so it was
Guys,
about,
Jennifer's son.
yes, exactly. And the only grandson I have.
Yeah.
And so I said, oh, martial arts, this is good. So types of martial arts, kids in martial arts. And I did a search, and man, those terms are not looked at anymore. What was the most searched term that I could, well, martial arts is clearly searched, but it's got too much competition to it. So you have to weigh all of that. One that I landed on was martial arts near me. That was searched almost 600 times a day and had only like 78 optimized websites for it. Now we can compete with anything under 100 optimized websites. So it's a perfect keyword to go use, okay? And so now how do you weave that in and out of martial arts near me? And I did it in the post saying, hey, when you were looking for martial arts, blah, 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 use the search term, bingo. And I used it as a category tag and a keyword tag. So there's a lot of, you got to outthink you have to know your client, just like you say. They're looking for you. What would they type in Google to find you?
And it's not what you think.
It's good God. Well, you start out with what you think.
Right.
Then you use Market Samurai to find out how wrong you really were and how to optimize on that. Now, that's the bad news and the good news. Everybody else is doing the same thing, and they're going to put in search terms that aren't searched.
Right.
And they can't compete.
Which is fine.
Yeah, they're all going the wrong direction. Let them go that way. Why you go this way? You know, so this digital arm that, is a bit technical, gets to be so gosh darn important, and that shows the difference between just don't build a website and they'll come, because they won't. It's not the field of dreams. Remember the field of dreams? Build a ball field, and the guy built a ball field in the middle of his cornfield, and they all these people that were dead came, essentially legends. Build it and they will come. It's just not true. It never was true. There were a bunch of ads like that. We talked about this many moons past in a podcast, but you got to think out of the box in the very beginning and hunt those keywords and then weave them like fairy dust onto your website. And that's what I've been doing this whole week.
I have to think in analogies because that's how my mind works, and I was just thinking of what you just said. And let me make a couple of statements, and then you can correct me. Most people want a website because you got to have a website. But everybody said, okay, you got to be there. Okay, so if you put a website up and it's pretty as hell. I mean, they spend time and money and energy and creativity and more money and more time, and unless they do what you just said, and I'll save that for my second example, it's like putting a beautiful billboard in the middle of the forest with no roads.
Exactly.
It's gorgeous. If you ever come across it, you're going to say, man, this is tremendous. You're not going to get there.
No.
But doing what you do and what you just described using the Market Samurai, and I never thought I would say this, the meta tags and all those other things that you mentioned, that stuff that I said shoot me now, but now I can't. That's the highway to drive by your website. It's a super highway. Not everybody's going to want to see it. Not everybody's going to want to say, well, write that number down. But you'll be put in front of people who are looking for a billboard like yours. Right.
And the beautiful billboard that they have will in fact play with the conversion of visitors to clients.
But only if they have the meta tags that builds the road to drive by your billboard.
Right. They have keywords that are placed in meta tags and in captions, pictures, and all those.
Without that, you're in the middle of the forest with no roads.
Yep.
If people are walking by, what are the odds of that happening? Because there are millions and millions of forests out there.
Yep.
And I now have a much better appreciation for that.
It's not a sexy topic by any means, it's not a twin and it's not a sexy topic, but it's a critical piece of the puzzle.
But let me call it, let me again go back to the analogies thing, because that's how I think. The meta tags and the super tags and the way we did that, those are the things that the SEO stuff,
Mm-hmm.
that's the oxygen that your billboard needs to survive.
Yep.
If not,
Absolutely.
it's pretty. Take a picture of it because no one else is going to see it. Anyway, okay, got it.
Absolutely. Now, the next thing I just want to talk about, I'll have more information about this. Every web person that I train has a little book like this that sits next to their keyboard, so we can write down, pixel sizes of pictures and all that stuff, right? And I ran across this thing on Facebook, and I did some research on it, and I bought one. It's called an Elfin Notebook.
ELFIN, okay.
Elfin Notebook. And now, it looks like any other notebook does, okay? It's got these pages, and it's got a specialized pen to it. So you write on this, right, just like a normal notebook, but with a app for your smartphone. When you get done with it, you can shoot it, and it automatically makes it into a document for you. And when you fill this book up, you put it in the microwave on top of a cup of water for 2 minutes, and it erases everything on all of the pages, and you start all over.
Really?
Yeah. Now this is the larger size. I'm going to try this out this week, and I'm going to get the smaller size that will then replace the 10 or 12 of these that I go through every month or every year, But isn't this an amazing tool? If it works like it says it's going to do, it's amazing. And it'll do, I don't know if you can see that, but there's putting it in the microwave. It does drawings for you. I mean, when you do all your drawings, what a clever way of capturing your notes, your information. Imagine business notes, meeting notes, everything captured for you here. And you shoot it with a program, a smartphone program. It's connected to an OCR, optical character recognition, so it'll become editable as a document that you can send to yourself. It's amazing crossover technology, I thought. How clever is that?
That's amazing. I'm thinking about the applications for, and there are many.
I love it. And plus, if you just want to erase one page, you just take a damp cloth of water and erase the page.
Wow.
That is amazing.
That is amazing.
That is amazing.
How'd you find that? You went to Amazon and just typed
No,
in?
I was on Facebook loading up some pictures, and this ad came across, and I looked at that and I said, really? Well, then I did some more research, on the web and this and that. And I went over to Amazon has them, and I said, hey, buy one click. Let's give this a try. And it came yesterday. I still haven't done anything with it yet. I ordered more pens, 2 more pilot pens, and we'll give this a try.
Okay,
And
good.
I'll give an update. But I thought, hey, isn't that clever? That really starts to solve a lot of the paper problems we have, And with that, let me see here. I think I have. Do you have any other questions?
No, we're ready to go.
And there you go.
Love that sound. Love that sound. It's time for a twin this week in the news. People who make headlines, made headlines, and are going to continue to make headlines. that I research, and I call them my rebels, misfits, and mavericks, as I'll get to toward the end. This week's twin is about a gentleman named Jerry Morrell. Jerry Morrell.
Jerry or Sherry?
Jerry.
Jerry Morrell. Hey, Frank, who is Jerry Morrell?
I am so glad you asked there, Karnak. Jerry Morrell. In the 1940s, Jerry was born in a working class small town in northern Michigan. They were just people who worked for a living and drank beers and watched sports and tried to stay warm in the winter. Jerry was not a very good student. As a matter of fact, his teacher once told him in front of the class, she said, Jerry, if you don't change and adjust your attitude, you're going to end up flipping burgers to make a living. Which was kind of ironic because Jerry's favorite restaurant in his hometown, the working class town, was a local hole-in-the-wall called Push 'em Up Bill. Push 'em Up Bill. And Bill only served burgers. She said, how did she know that? Push 'em Up Bill's was out of the way. It had a grill and a counter and one picnic table for guests, but every lunch, the place was packed with people waiting to buy the best burgers in town. Man, that made an impression on Jerry. Well, Jerry eventually improved scholastically, and he went to and graduated from the University of Michigan. Okay, so state school. After graduation, Jerry married his high school sweetheart, had 3 sons, and got a job selling life insurance. I can relate to that. I did the life insurance thing. But as it turned out, Jerry's life insurance sales career was better than his marriage. His wife divorced him and he had 3 sons, and took his 3 sons to Florida. Jerry was devastated. His 3 boys were his life. And he vowed, he didn't know how, but he vowed, someday I'm going to get my boys back. I can't imagine life without my boys. Well, Jerry kept on selling life insurance, and a few years later, Jerry took a consulting job in the Washington, D.C. area. There he met Janie. He got married and had another son with Janie, okay? And it was there while Jerry was in the D.C. area doing consulting. He says, man, there's a lot of money, as you can imagine, the government, but very little financial planning. Jerry had a good mind for those things. So he started a career as a financial advisor. And soon after that, I never found out why, his 3 sons from his first marriage came to live with him and Janie. So Jerry was fulfilled. His boys were back with him. And he was a dad again. And for fun, Jerry loved to take the family, Janie and the 4 kids, to Ocean City, Maryland, because they had a boardwalk there. And the highlight of their trip was getting something they called boardwalk fries. Now, there were 20 places on the boardwalk that sold boardwalk fries, but only one place, a place called Thrasher's, always had a line of people waiting to buy boardwalk fries. The other places weren't doing business. That made a lasting impression again on Jerry. Well, Jerry was doing well financially with his financial planning business, but you know what? He wanted to be his own boss. So he found this opportunity to invest in an oil field business in Texas. Great. And as he said in one interview, I probably didn't read the sign. They said, hey, stupid people, give us your money. And he invested his money and it failed. Jerry says, well, to hell with the remote businesses. I'm not going to do that anymore. So Jerry opened a bottled water business. Who the heck buys water in bottles when you get for free? Well, this was back in the early 80s, late 70s, okay? But that failed too. But Jerry still kept his dream of being his own boss. He just didn't know what he was going to do. But he tried it twice and it failed twice. Well, Jerry, being a financial planner, had saved money for his boys' education because he knew how going to college helped him. He now had 4 sons. But in this coincidence, like Jerry, they weren't very good students either. Okay. So Jerry called a family meeting, Janie and the kids, and asked, hey, I want to give you 2 choices. I got this college fund. We can use that for your college, or we can start a business. What do you want to do? Boys' hands were right up. No college. And Janie says, all right. So it was unanimous. And then Janie asked the question, Jerry, remember she was there with the oil field and a bottled water. Jerry, what kind of business are we going to start? Well, it was obvious to Jerry. Jerry went back to his childhood and his Ocean City days and says, you know what? I want to open up a burger and fries business. And Janie says, what? Why? Now, remember, this is 1986, and there were three companies, you may have heard of them, called McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's, which pretty much owned the burgers and fries business. Jerry says, I know that. I go there. My place is going to be different. How many times have we heard that before? He says, we are only going to sell burgers like Push 'em Up Bills in that northern Michigan town, and we're only going to sell fries like Thrashers, the best in town. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to charge 4 times more than McDonald's for their burgers. Everybody thought he was nuts, but Janie, knowing Jerry, he gave in. Okay, Jerry had now the go-ahead to take the nest egg and invest in a family fries and burgers business. Well, Jerry did not have a lot of money to invest. It was between $35,000 and so $1,000. So Jerry says, I got the following rules of where and how we're going to run our burger and fries business. I said, okay, let's go. Number one, the place we select for our restaurant must be out of the way and not easy to get to. Why? Well, because it's cheaper to...
Everything opposite of what you would normally think, you know.
Right.
You're all going the wrong direction.
Well, it's obvious. It's to save money. Okay? Hey, Push 'em Up Bills was out of the way. He did all right. And Jerry says, okay, we need restaurant equipment. We're going to buy old equipment and we're going to refurbish it ourselves. Why? To save money. Jerry didn't have a lot of money. Okay. Oh, rule number 3. We are not going to spend a penny on advertising or marketing our business. We're going to go out of the way, buy old equipment refurbished, and we're not going to spend any money promoting our restaurant. Save money. But, Jerry knew he had to come up with a but because they were dying already. We will spare no expense on the ingredients for the quality of our burgers and our fries. Jerry was a kind of forceful, stubborn kind of guy. So they found a place and used equipment. And from there, they says, okay, now we got to go to a lawyer and we're going to formalize, because Jerry was a financial man, we got to formalize our business. So at the lawyer's office, the lawyer was doing all the paperwork, and Jerry and Janie, I think the kids were there. And the lawyer says, what are you going to call this business? They said, well, we haven't even thought of that. Restaurant. No, that's not acceptable. Jerry says, tell you what, pick any name just for today so I can fill out the paperwork, and we'll change it later. I want to complete the paperwork. Jerry sat there and says, oh, man, it's me. It's my 3 sons. My one says, oh, let's call it Five Guys. Let's call it Five Guys Burgers and Fries. So they did. Well, Jerry's not ready to open up his restaurant out of the way, that type of thing. And they opened up at 11 a.m. And they sat there and waited and waited and waited. 11:45 a.m., the first customer walks into their new restaurant. By 12:30 p.m., which was 45 minutes later, the place was buzzing. They were profitable their first month, and every month since then, Jerry Morrell and his place called Five Guys has been profitable every month since then. As they progressed, they grew their business. But Jerry still had rules. He said, we're still going to spend no money on advertising and marketing. By the way, you have never seen an ad for Five Guys. It's still today. Jerry says, if our burgers and fries are good enough, our customers, with the word of mouth, will do our advertising and marketing for us. Jerry says we're going to spare no expense on the quality of food. He says we want our burgers and fries to be so good that they will rave about them to their friends. That's the word of mouth. And Jerry did something else which bucked the trend. He says even in today's I gotta have it now society, Jerry refused to have a drive-through. because every order is made to order, and therefore would take too long for a drive-through. And he kept on getting requests of people saying, hey, where's your drive-through? So Jerry put up a sign outside his restaurant. He says, if you're in a hurry, there's a bunch of places nearby that will serve you quicker. He just tell you right now, we're not fast, okay? Oh, by the way, there were no freezers then, and there are no freezers today at any Five Guys. Everything is made with fresh ingredients. Today, where are they? Five Guys has over 1,000 locations, or with 15,000 employees. They do well over $1 billion in revenue.
Oh my gosh.
Jerry and his family own 75% of Five Guys. 20% is owned by people who invested money in the venture people did it. They did it for the growth thing. And 5% is Jerry went back to his hometown in northern Michigan with his buddies. And he let them invest up to their 5% those extra business. And in some cases, he loaned the money for the guys to invest in Five Guys because he didn't want to forget his old friends, his friends from the neighborhood.
I got a little cheeseburger with lettuce, tomato, ketchup, and pickles.
The first Five Guys Burgers and Fries restaurant opened its doors in the mid-1980s and quickly became a Washington, D.C. area favorite. Since then, they've blossomed into one of the nation's most beloved burger destinations. Here are 10 things you may not know about the fast food chain and its rise to fame. Number 10. It offers thousands of ways to enjoy a burger. The wide variety of toppings and specifications offered add up to a lot of potential. It's estimated that there are over 250,000 ways an order can be customized. Number 9. Don't look for menu additions anytime soon. The Morels, who own Five Guys, get a lot of pressure to add milkshakes, chicken sandwiches, and coffee, but they're holding strong on their decision to keep the options tight. The company doesn't want to risk losing sight of their core, something they believe has crippled a number of once successful food enterprises. Number 8. A report from 2013 indicated Shaquille O'Neal had acquired 155 Five Guys restaurants. Last year, Forbes reported the NBA legend owns 10% of the franchises and is expected to attain billionaire status soon thanks in part to these investments. Number 7. Restaurant ownership or college. That was the choice presented to the young Morel boys when they were at the age when such things are considered. Clearly, they opted to go into business with their dad and open a family-owned eatery, a decision that has paid off in spades. Number 6. There really are Five Guys behind it. Originally, the name referred to Dad, Jerry, and his 4 sons, Jim, Matt, Chad, and Ben. Then Tyler came along, and ever since, it's represented the offspring, each of which fills a key position in the company. Number 5. Five Guys has served the nation's leader.
1 cheeseburger and 1 fries for me.
Okay, what kind of toppings do you want in cheeseburger?
Number 4. The restaurants are timer-free zones. It's the belief of the company that cooking is something best controlled by the skills of the chef, not kitchen gadgets. Thus, they've instituted a company-wide ban on the use of timing devices. Number 3. It's the country's fastest-growing food chain. Between 2006 and 2012, Five Guys expanded by nearly 800%. Not bad for a burger joint that didn't even have customer seating when they first opened. Number 2. They're not easily pushed around, not even by the Pentagon. Upon learning that an order couldn't be delivered to the enormous military facility, an admiral called and informed the restaurant that all area establishments accommodated their door-to-door service requests. In response, Five Guys hung a 22-foot sign outside that read, "Absolutely no delivery." Number 1. The company takes potatoes very seriously. Most of the ones they serve up as fries hail from Idaho, but overall the goal is to only acquire those that are grown north of the 42nd parallel. There, spuds do their maturing almost exclusively during daylight hours, resulting in a slower maturation process and a more solid tuber. What do you think is the most interesting thing about Five Guys?
Not bad for a kid who was told by his teacher that if he did not change his ways, he would flip burgers for a living. How right she was. Nice story by Jerry. So as you know, it's my obsession. I do the Rebels thing, Rebels and Visitors. And Jerry Morel is a member of my Rebel, Misfit, and Maverick Hall of Fame. You know, I've identified 15 things that Rebels, Misfits, Mavericks do that struggling entrepreneurs don't do. And what I've done is I've gone through my research with Jerry, and I've identified 10 of those 15 things that Jerry did that most struggling restaurateurs or entrepreneurs can do, but they don't. Let me tell you. Number one, Jerry did what he was passionate about, serving great burgers and fries. You know what most people do? They do what they're good at, whether they like it or not. It's a way to make a living. It's called a job. Number two, Jerry was true to himself. Whether it was life insurance or the oil field or bottled water or financial advisor, he's just a burger and fries guy. Push him up bills and thrash. That's who he is. And he finally admitted and says, this is me. He became who he was, a burger and fries guy. Most people, struggling entrepreneurs, try to change themselves into being something that they're not. And people can see right through the phonies. Number three, Jerry was stubborn about his rules to open his restaurant. Out of the way, hard to get to, no advertising, that thing. Most entrepreneurs are wishy-washy. Well, I thought I wanted this, but if you think this is better, I'll do what you think because you may know more than me. They're not really convinced that they are right. Jerry was convinced. Number four, Jerry ignored the naysayers who told him it was nuts to enter a marketplace that was dominated by McDonald's. Jerry said, screw the naysayers. Most struggling entrepreneurs would avoid competing against giants in any industry. Number five, Jerry was not afraid to risk starting another business even though his previous attempts had failed. Most struggling entrepreneurs go to great lengths to avoid any kind of risk. They want safe, guarantee. We see it all the time with people we talk to. Oh, no, this has got to work. Well, you got to try it. Number six, Jerry targeted the people who were willing to wait for a great hamburger and fries. No drive-through. I tell you we're slow. It's worth the wait. Here we are. Most struggling entrepreneurs would target the fast food crowd. Jerry didn't do that. Jerry made his restaurants different. As I said, with no drive-through. Most struggling entrepreneurs would open a drive-through because that's what the competitors had. Jerry became comfortable bucking the trend of not spending any money on marketing and advertising. He was going to do it word of mouth. He wanted his customers to do their marketing for them. You know what Jerry's philosophy is? If we can't make a great burger and fries that people will rave about, we shouldn't be in the business. Most struggling entrepreneurs would be too uncomfortable bucking that trend. Number nine, Jerry spared no expense in the ingredients to make his customers feel like they just had the best hamburger available. Most struggling entrepreneurs would serve an acceptable hamburger at a cheaper price. And finally, point number 10, which really separated him. Jerry purposefully priced his hamburgers 4 times more than McDonald's because you know what? They're worth it. Most struggling entrepreneurs would cut corners and try to undercut McDonald's price by being cheaper and or better. And that's just my twin about Mr. Jerry Morrell, my new entrant into my Rebels, Misfit, and Mavericks Hall of Fame.
Now, have you eaten there at Five Guys?
Oh, absolutely. I love their fries.
I have not eaten there.
Yeah. Well, did you before you started this thing? You know, there's one right down the street on Washington and 111.
That's not quite right down the street for me, mind. That's
true.
An hour away. But the answer is yes. I was there in that neighborhood not too long ago, and it's been on my list of going to eat there. But of course, I can't have fries and I can't have a bun, and so it's like, well, anyway. It looks like my body's resetting itself that I can eat that occasionally, so that's not a big deal now, but was then. So maybe
I'll tell you, you go in and they also serve hot dogs. So you can get a grilled vegetable sandwich. They don't do chicken, they don't do coffee because the kids they have working there don't know how to make coffee. He said, "Hell with them, coffee." Anyway,
I make my own coffee. Anyway,
but they have all these toppings, either cold, like ketchup, mustard type of thing, or grilled onions, grilled mushrooms, different, and you have as many as you want, no charge, no extra charge. You pay for the burger, and that's it. And how many toppings you want, and it's made in front of you, fresh. And by the way, you get orders of fries, and they have a container that measures you out of fries, and they always put another container as a bonus, so you get twice as many fries as you paid for, in a bag, because it overflows the thing. And when you're there, they have free peanuts to shell that while you're waiting, you serve yourself your own drink. You buy a cup. You serve yourself your own drinks. You have all the peanuts you want while you're sitting there talking and so forth. Some people says, well, Jerry, what about kids with peanut allergies? There's a big sign that says, hey, we have peanuts here. If you have an allergy, please don't come in.
What do you do with the shells?
You hopefully put them in a container. If not, people put them on the floor, and they have kids always going around picking up shells and so forth.
Well,
Jerry spends as little money as possible on the inside of the restaurant. They're all red and white tiles, and they normally have 50-pound bags of potatoes because they go through a lot of potatoes with their fries. And that's because they don't have a big storage room, so they store them along the walls. They have tables and chairs, and that's just the way it is.
Well, we'll have to take a visit.
The burgers are really. By the way, you're going to pay 4 times more. He's serious about that. Oh, by the way, Jerry says, "Whoa." He said, "With these and with ingredients like, for example, lettuce, or tomatoes, when they have the strikes and everything, or the weather problems, at the end of, and Jerry still does this today. Jerry and his wife Janie, at the end of every month, they check the food costs because they pay for the best every month. And if the food cost goes above 30%, they raise the price next month to make up for it. They have a dynamic pricing. We will not cut the quality of the ingredients. We'll raise or lower the price of the food to 30%.
Accordingly. Well, that's very interesting. Now let's go into our C block. I have a fractured business tale.
I love it. Tell me.
Well, I've recently learned how fun it was to shop at Walmart. You know, they got great prices and this and that, but the Walmart that I go to it doesn't have a lot of stuff. I mean, the shelves are empty in some cases. I don't know what's going on with all of that. But anyway, I happened to buy The Last Jedi DVD, movie, Star Wars movie.
Oh, okay.
Brought it home, opened it up. It's a Blu-ray. I don't have a Blu-ray player, but it says Blu-ray plus digital. I tried to play it, couldn't play it. No problem. I've taken stuff back to Walmart. They're really good about that. So I put my receipt in there, went back the next day, stood in line, got up there. She goes, oh, can't take that back. What's $22? What do you mean you can't take it back? Well, you've already opened it. Well, I opened it and found out I couldn't play it. Well, we can't take it back. And I said, well, would you like to have this? Because it's worthless to me. It's not even heavy enough to be a boat anchor, you know? And she goes, no, I can't do that, ha, ha, ha. I said, well, that sucks because I've returned about everything else. And I said, this is the last place that a customer should learn about that. There should be a warning on the freaking display, you know, or something. And she goes, well, we have that same policy on a lot of stuff in the store. Oh, I didn't know that. Did you know that, Frank?
No, not at all.
Not at all. And so I said, well, what else? She goes, well, if you buy vacuum cleaners or any electronics, you have 15 days to return it if it doesn't work. I bought a vacuum cleaner. I saved up my pennies and got a $48 vacuum cleaner because, you know, my whole house I'm going to do with a Roomba, but there's a couple places where vacuum cleaner would really work out well. And so I haven't opened it up yet. It's on my list of things to do. But disappointed at that, I started walking back down to get in the main store, and there's, of course, a greeter there. And I told the greeter, I said, hey, you know, I bought this. Here's the receipt. She spoke no English whatsoever. That's not good, okay? And as I'm going past her, explaining that they wouldn't return it, but I wanted to go back to the display and see if they had a digital version. And this guy says to me as he's passing, he says, that's the worst place. Walmart's the worst place for returns. I go, wow, this is not the time to learn about that. But there you go. And so, you know, it's really important that, I guess, you know, if you're going to do business at stores and you're living on a limited budget, which most of us do these days, you probably ought to know what their return policies really are before you purchase something, because you ain't going to get it back.
It isn't, as opposed to Nordstrom's and LL Bean, which takes stuff years later.
Yeah, that doesn't matter as long as it, I mean, I've gone into Home Depot and I didn't have a receipt, but I knew which credit card I paid on. You just stick it in the little thing and they find it, no problem. They take it off your credit card.
Right.
They give you credit. And I mean, I just couldn't believe that Walmart wasn't going to work with me on that because I opened it. It didn't say that. Nowhere did it ever give me instructions to say you open it, you own it. Nowhere.
But I think of why they would have that policy on the movie. The only thing I think of is you'll go buy a great movie and
Piracy.
bring all your friends over for Saturday night.
Yeah,
You'll
piracy,
watch it and
you take it back, but clearly for the 1%ers that may do that, the 99% of us
Yeah.
have to suffer, and that's not the right answer either. So
No.
anyway, that's my fractured business tale. I'm shocked that Walmart, being as big as they are, would have such a poor policy on returns. And worse yet, the customer awareness of the policies are not there. That ought to change.
Right.
If you and I own that store, we'd make sure everyone knew at the cash register or otherwise limits on exchanges or stuff like that,
I agree.
But
I agree.
there you go.
All right.
All right, Frank, anything else?
We got it, man.
All right.